most people think they are middle class, but most are not, and that's costing them a lot of money. This society-wide problem is made even worse because nobody knows what the fuck middle class even means anymore.
I feel like you're really just in between a rock and a hard place, you know? You're in a spot where everyone's like, hey, you're doing better than, low class, you're doing great.
The wealth of our middle class has been ripped from their home and then redistributed all across the world.
He's trying to tell us he cares about the middle class. Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey.
And you're underneath the people who are actually doing fine.
You probably think middle class is what most people think middle class is. Not rich, but not poor. A middle class family can afford a regular home with a 30-year mortgage, 2 cars, and a vacation once a year. A middle class family has 2 people that work in middle management or run a small business. If they are lucky, you might imagine that one of the pair could stay home to look after the children. The middle class describes the largest share of people on the wealth spectrum slotted between the extremely wealthy and the working class. But you would find it impossible to give a net worth figure that is the cutoff for entry into any of these classes. There are 3 reasons why you are not middle class, and 3 reasons why this irrelevant definition is hurting your real financial situation. The first reason you are not middle class is because that term really doesn't mean anything anymore.
I was at a seminar recently where somebody literally said, there is no middle class anymore, the middle class is gone.
The middle class was first used in early modern Europe to describe the middling people that were not nobility, but not peasants either. They were wealthy merchants or factory owners. If you don't own a factory or a fleet of trade ships, you already fall outside the original definition of the middle class. Today, these people would be considered upper class, especially in America where we rejected the idea of nobility. The middle class is a changing classification, and that change is usually decided by the upper class. In early modern Europe, the nobles needed a way to class people that were as wealthy as they were, but not considered as important. Today, the middle class describes people that aren't nearly as rich as the upper class, which is the old middle class, but also aren't poor. It's a definition so broad that it's practically useless, but it has changed a lot in a short span of time. Homer Simpson was once portrayed as a working class man. The show has a rigid adherence to episodic continuity, so the family has not changed at all in 33 years the show has been on air. The show may not have changed, but the world around it has. And slowly, the Simpsons family became middle class, then upper middle class. And today, with their single family home, 3 children, 2 cars, and a stay-at-home wife, they could be considered upper class.
I don't know which I love more, being rich or hiding it from my husband.
The definition may be meaningless, but it's not useless. Everybody from companies to politicians target the middle class as the largest block of customers and voters.
This really will mostly benefit the middle class and jobs.
You probably like to think you are middle class even if you are not. People will place themselves into this group and accept that something that's good for the middle class is good for them. This is a very useful trait when chasing votes or marketing a product.
To middle-class Americans,
That's all for the middle class.
a middle-class tax cut
America's middle class is getting hollowed out.
Until middle-class incomes are going up again.
A system for classifying people based on their wealth that has remained consistent over time is simply dividing people into 2 groups, the working class and the upper class. The first group are people that need to work to pay their living expenses, the working class. The second group is those that don't need to work because they have enough income from investments or other payments. According to this definition, a doctor that still needs to work to pay the mortgage on their 7-bedroom McMansion is working class, but a retiree living on a pension would be upper class. The definitions are simpler, but the outcome is just as blurry. None of this would even matter if it wasn't costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your career, and that's not hyperbole. So it's time to learn how money works to find out why social classes are stupid and only kept around as a useful tool to sell you stuff. This week's lesson was sponsored by Z-Biotics. If you're like me, a night out getting drinks with your friends isn't something you can just easily bounce back from anymore. Fortunately, Z-Biotics has a solution for you. Z-Biotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic that was invented by a group of PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Z-Biotics is designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it the most. Just remember to drink Z-Biotics before you drink alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. I love drinking wine with my friends, but even just a couple of glasses makes me feel groggy in the morning. That is, until I took Z-Biotics. I felt perfectly normal the next day, and I will definitely be stocking up on it. I recommend Z-Biotics to anyone that enjoys a beverage with the friends, but doesn't enjoy the rough mornings after that even only a couple of drinks can bring. Head to zbiotics.com/howmanyworks and use the code howmanyworks at checkout for 15% off. Labor Day weekend is right around the corner, so make sure you stock up before the long weekend. Your friends and family will thank you. The first problem with assuming you are middle class comes from the inherent spending and saving patterns it motivates. According to a study published by Bankrate, a financial services comparison and publishing company, 57% of Americans could not cover an unexpected $1,000 expense without taking on debt or selling something.
People were being forced to borrow from retirement savings, take out a personal loan, put things on a credit card.
This study is published every year, and the number of Americans in such a fragile financial situation has been slowly climbing, even though the $1,000 is worth less than when the report was first produced. Even if your definition of middle class is different from all of the other definitions, we can all agree that having less than $1,000 in savings is not a trait associated with the middle class. A Gallup poll found that a majority of Americans still identify as middle class, which means that there is an overlap of people that can't afford a $1,000 expense but still consider themselves middle class. The idea of what a middle class American looks like is both the cause and effect of this. A survey conducted by Lending Club found that 36% of people earning at least $250,000 a year were living paycheck to paycheck.
We've struggled. I mean, we've gone from having money in the bank, having savings, to living paycheck to paycheck and basically trying to make ends meet, and sometimes they don't meet.
That income by most people's standards would put those people securely into the upper middle class, but they were still dealing with financial stress. A significant contributor to this financial stress was maintaining the image that people had of what an upper middle class lifestyle should look like. 2 cars, a well-furnished single-family home, and regular vacations are all part of an upper middle class income starter pack, but they are unaffordable in a lot of the areas that people work to make these high salaries. Here in San Francisco, that income would responsibly get you a 1-bedroom apartment and a basic car that you need to pay to keep locked up so that it doesn't get broken into. Those living conditions don't feel middle class though, so people overextend themselves because they think that if they earn what they think is a middle income salary, they should have a middle income lifestyle. This lifestyle assumption is the second way that thinking you are middle class is hurting your real financial situation. It makes you less likely to pick the right job. Some of the best job opportunities in America right now are roles that people associate with the working class. Trade jobs, trucking, farming, and oil work can all make more money than most white-collar jobs in an office. A lot of young people dismiss these careers as something they would only consider if they didn't make it into college, because they don't want to be working class even though they can make a lot more money and take on less debt pursuing one of these options.
Skilled laborers become more and more scarce, companies will become more desperate and out of necessity pay more. Also, the longer that you work in the trades, the more money you tend to make.
There are pros and cons to white-collar professional work and blue-collar trade jobs, but working your way up a corporate ladder is not as guaranteed as putting in some high-paying hours with a good trade. But too often, it's dismissed because people think they are better than that, when really, they are probably not. And that's because of the second reason you are not middle class. In a throwback to European nobility, that status is becoming hereditary. According to studies published by Georgetown University, Pew Research, and Harvard Business Review, the biggest predictor that a child will have financial stability in their adult lives is not their academic ability, but the wealth of their parents. Wealthier parents can provide better opportunities and remove financial burdens like paying out of pocket for college or saving for the down payment on a first home. Children of wealthier parents also have soft benefits that, according to research, can make a big difference. Just being surrounded by social networks of people that are also financially stable means that wealthier children are more likely to know the basics of building credit, saving for long-term financial goals, and avoiding common financial mistakes. Certain social studies have argued that this advantage goes even further. Children of wealthier parents have less to prove and are therefore less likely to spend recklessly on conspicuous consumption, and they are given learned social skills that help them perform well in a professional environment. Even if the child of wealthy parents doesn't end up in a high-paying career, they can still end up significantly ahead of those that do. Children from poorer households that break the cycle and earn a middle or upper middle class income are still going to need to catch up financially. These children will need to pay their own way through college by taking out student loans. They will need to buy their own car, build their own credit, save for their own down payment, and they will also be under more pressure to help improve the financial situation of their family. These people are overrepresented in the same group of high-income earners with very low financial security, and that's what causes the third problem with thinking you are middle class. It will make you take unnecessary risks. If people who believe they are middle class can't afford the trappings of what they consider a normal middle class lifestyle to look like, they might take on debt to keep up or look at risky alternatives to make money. Which group of people do you think are most likely to fall for financial scams? If you are brave enough, put your answer in the comment section so we can all make fun of you for being wrong. According to the FTC, elderly people trying to pay back the IRS and gift cards actually fell for scams at a lower rate than young professionals on above-average incomes. Younger adults were 330% more likely to fall for investment scams in particular.
Texting, snapping, messaging on social platforms, that's how they communicate. And scammers love that. Right? They're on all of those platforms. They're on all of those networks.
Everybody wants to get rich quick, but people with high incomes who have still fallen behind what they think of as a middle-class income life need to get rich quick just to keep up. Any investment promising 100% annual returns is clearly a scam, but someone who thinks they ought to be middle class has the right combination of enough income and enough desperation to fall for these cons on the slim hope that they may work. Even less blatant scams are targeted exclusively towards people who they think should be further ahead in life because they are middle class. Let's test this out. Here, watch this ad. Now tell me honestly, was that ad someone trying to pitch you an Amazon automation, day trading, dropshipping, or real estate investing course? Or do you have AdBlock or YouTube Premium and are totally confused right now? If you are in the former group, it's because according to my own community poll, you are the prime target for wanting to make extra income to improve your financial situation. Even people who don't fall for scams or pay for shitty courses pitched by hustle bros are still more likely to have aggressive stock portfolios or partake in risky strategies like house flipping, options trading, or cryptocurrency investing. This financial anxiety can hurt you in more ways than taking more dumb risks. It also causes the fourth problem with thinking that you are middle class. It makes you less likely to take smart risks. Financial security has a lot of benefits. People that save more and spend less are happier, and having a middle-class job to pay for a middle-class life is about as secure as most people think it gets. The problem is that people get used to this imaginary safety and put themselves in quite risky financial situations to maintain it. A person who has been with their employer for a long time will feel secure in the role, even though multiple studies have found no correlation between time at a company and job security beyond probationary periods. The reason that people expect that they are more secure at a job they have been at longer is simply survivorship bias. If they haven't been laid off yet, they are less likely to be laid off at all, even if that is simply not true. Employees that stick with their employers for longer than 3 years at a time not only earn significantly less than their peers who move jobs more frequently, they also have less overall job security. Potential employers do value company loyalty, but they value a range of experience and flexibility to different situations more. Someone that has been with their former employer for decades is a red flag to hiring managers because they could be set in their ways and difficult to train on the unique processes that every company has. These calculated risks don't stop at moving jobs. They can also be moving to a new city with much better job opportunities, starting a business in a field they have experience in, or just asking their boss for a raise. Someone who is barely maintaining a middle-class lifestyle is less likely to take these calculated risks because they know that any complications could cause them to lose their facade very quickly. Now, the third reason that you think you are middle class is because the middle class and upper class are the groups most portrayed in the media. But this is nothing new, and it's been going on since one human had a larger cave than another. To find out why, go and watch my video over on how history works to learn why historians only care about rich people. If you want to watch these videos a day early and get articles that will never be made into YouTube videos, then subscribe to my email newsletter Compounded Daily to keep on learning how money works.